Neon lights winked across the city skyline, painting the night in lurid reds and greens. High above the hectic streets, the rooftop gardens of glass-walled towers seemed almost tranquil. Yet this metropolis was far from peaceful. A low hum of tension intermingled with car horns and clinking glasses, sliding through the crisp air like a discordant melody. It was said that in this place, hidden among the ordinary mortals, lived countless creatures of myth and magic. All of them had carved out enclaves in the city's labyrinth: vampires, shapeshifters, witches, even the occasional demon. Humans walked in ignorance, mostly unaware that every alley and tucked-away cafe might harbor a centuries-old being with ancient grudges in their eyes. Aurelia never thought she would set foot in this city. For as long as her memory allowed, she had wandered from place to place, feeling an unexplainable pull towards somewhere indefinite until she found herself stepping off a bus into a haze of traffic fumes and glowing advertisements. She had no surname to recall, no sense of her lineage, only odd remnants of dreams she couldn't quite piece together. Her eyes sometimes shimmered with an otherworldly light, then dulled as though she were forcing it back. Turning the corner from the bus stop, she noticed that certain people on the street seemed to pause and stare, a mixture of recognition and wonder in their expressions. It made her skin prickle, but it also awoke a curious yearning inside her, as though they saw something about her she had yet to see in herself. She quickly found a cheap motel, one perched on the border between upscale nightlife and neglected borough. Its neon sign buzzed obstinately, a gutter full of crushed soda cans and wet leaves leading to the lobby. Inside her tiny room, Aurelia locked the door and sat at the edge of a sagging mattress. She pressed her hands to her eyes as shards of memory flickered behind her lids. A grand palace under a moonlit sky, a council of ethereal figures looking at her with reverence, and an ancient voice telling her she was destined to lead. Then, as always, the vision was gone, leaving her breathless. What was she? Who was she meant to be? On her second night in the city, she ventured out in search of answers. Rumors occasionally drifted in her hearing: vampires at war with shapeshifters, witches intervening in secret, a silent demon clan lurking in the shadows. The city's magical denizens maintained a tense pact, but alliances shifted like the lights on the billboards looming over the thoroughfares. She had caught snippets of conversations behind closed doors, hearing the names of factions. She sensed the city was on a razor's edge, ready to fall into chaos if some stabilizing force didn't intervene. Still, she wasn't sure how she fit into this puzzle. She only believed that if she delved deeper, the fragments of her past might draw together and reveal who she truly was. Fate seemed to beckon her to a dimly lit cafe boasting live music in the basement. Colored bulbs flashed overhead, illuminating the small stage where a musician plucked a mournful tune on an electric cello. Around the tables, individuals with uncanny eyes and sharp smiles whispered among themselves. Aurelia spotted a tall, angular man leaning against the bar. Clad in a sleek black coat that reached his ankles, he appeared to be waiting for her, because the instant she walked in, his attention snapped to her. Without a word, he gestured for her to join him at the counter. She hesitated, but his gaze was insistent, not threatening but resolute. She found herself moving toward him before she even understood why. He introduced himself as Caspian, a sorcerer with ties to both the Witches' Council and the city's demon enclave. In a low, measured voice, he told her about a prophecy whispered among the supernatural circles. Generations ago, the Fey Queen vanished, he said, eyes flickering with a strange light. She was the rightful ruler of the hidden realm, and her disappearance left a gaping power vacuum. Without her, alliances broke down, the old treaties crumbled. War after war flared up, fanning out across our dimension and intermingling with the mortal world. They say that one day she would return to restore balance, and her name was Aurelia. He paused to let the words sink in. Everyone believes she's gone for good, but I have reason to suspect otherwise. Her heart pounded so forcefully that she feared he could hear it thudding in her chest. She wanted to dismiss the story as nonsense, but the echo of that name, Aurelia, rolled through her mind like distant thunder. "Why tell me any of this?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Caspian fixed her with a scrutinizing stare. "Because from the moment you stepped off that bus, the city's wards rippled, old wards that had been placed to detect if the Queen ever returned. And when I looked at you just now, I felt the old magic. You might be the Queen, or at least a remnant of her, reborn or returned. If you are who I suspect, you carry the potential to gather the warring factions and prevent more bloodshed." He sipped from a glass of frothy liquid. "Of course, there are those who won't be happy to see you come back." She could hardly find words as each of her fleeting dreams slotted into place before her eyes. "What am I supposed to do?" she whispered. He took a moment, choosing his words carefully. "First, we need to remove any blockages on your power. Then you must regain the city's trust among the supernaturals. If they accept you, maybe we'll avoid another war. But they'll demand proof, some demonstration that you're truly the Fey Queen of old, not an imposter." That night, Caspian escorted Aurelia through the winding back streets, guiding her to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. Its broken windows and rust-eaten doors belied the potent magic swirling inside. Cloaked figures waited there, their faces hidden behind masks molded into contours of foxes and wolves. Aurelia felt a rush of energy that made her skin tingle as she passed them. Beneath the fluorescent glow of flickering overhead lights, a circle of runes had been inscribed on the cracked concrete floor with shimmering chalk. At its center stood an altar, carved from dark wood, etched with symbols reminiscent of forest leaves and ancient glyphs. A weathered woman in a deep violet robe stepped forward. Her voice was authoritative, yet warm. "I am Seraphine, a high priestess among the witches. We gather here to remove the veil that binds your memory. If you are indeed our lost queen, the magic will reveal it." She paused, gesturing at the circle. "But know this, if the circle rejects you, the backlash will be severe. It may spell your doom rather than liberation." A tremor ran through Aurelia, but she summoned her courage and stepped onto the altar. She knelt on the cold wood, heart thudding uncontrollably. Caspian and the cloaked figures took positions around the circle, chanting in ancient tongues. The chalk lines glowed with a silvery incandescence, coalescing into serpentine ribbons of light that wound upward around her body. At first, she sensed warmth, a comforting lullaby reminding her of a home she'd long forgotten. Then came a sharp jolt, and she cried out, arching her back as memories cascaded in. She saw visions of a grand court, nestled in a twilight realm, elegant towers woven from living vines and moonlit blossoms that never wilted. She saw herself, cloaked in regal raiment, a crown of woven silver and opals resting on her brow. A crowd of Fae knelt before her, pledging eternal loyalty. She felt the heartbreak of betrayal too, an ambush in a hidden courtyard, the shimmer of a hostile spell ripping her kingdom away. Then, darkness. With a gasp, she became aware of the warehouse around her again. The chanting ceased. Her vision blurred, and she glowed faintly, a filigree of vines and flowers flickering across her skin like living tattoos. Seraphine touched Aurelia's shoulder and nodded, her voice catching with reverence. "My queen, welcome back." As the magic circle faded and the cloaked figures withdrew, Aurelia pressed a shaky hand to her chest. She felt a new sense of certainty threaded through her veins. Though her throne was lost and her kingdom scattered, her power belonged to her once more. Yet the journey ahead loomed large. Her memories confirmed what Caspian had told her. The city's factions were on the verge of war because of the vacuum left by her disappearance. Restoring peace would mean convincing them she was genuine, able to forge a new era of unity. She also recalled rumors of an antagonist, a self-proclaimed regent who leveraged her absence for personal gain. He would not give up power without a fight. Over the next few nights, Caspian introduced Aurelia to some of the city's most prominent supernatural circles. They crept down candlelit tunnels behind a repurposed subway station where a clan of vampires congregated. Their leader, a gaunt but commanding figure named Vittorio, watched Aurelia with suspicion. He sat on a throne improvised from old velvet seats and looked at her as though assessing a threat. "We've been burned with false messiahs before," he said. "Show me something that proves your claim." Aurelia hesitated, then closed her eyes. She summoned the energy simmering within her, letting the warmth radiate outward. She felt the vines and petals flicker over her skin, and in the stale darkness, a glow blossomed around her. The old echoes of the Fey realm danced in the air like luminous motes. The vampires, even Vittorio himself, inhaled sharply. It was as if the very essence of the hidden realm had materialized before them, washing the stone walls with silvery blue light. For a moment, all that could be heard was the drip of water from a corroded pipe in the corner. Then Vittorio rose, gingerly extended a pale hand, and brushed a finger through the swirling aura. "Incredible," he murmured, his eyes reflecting awe and longing. "I feel the old magic, the kind that shaped treaties long ago." He allowed a tight-lipped smile. "You may indeed be who you claim, or at least have the potential. I will wait and see. As for me, I fight only if threatened, but there are others who might not be so easily convinced." Their next visit took Aurelia and Caspian deeper into the labyrinth of old factories, where the shapeshifter packs established their territories. Broken windows and rusted metal catwalks cast shadows across wide, echoing floors. The werewolves prowled among the debris, while the feline shifters perched on high ledges, all gazing at Aurelia with unveiled distrust. Their silver-eyed alpha, a woman named Rayanne, stepped forward. "You must realize our kind has been scorned by vampire courts and manipulated by witches. Why should we trust another so-called ruler?" Aurelia drew a breath. "Because I have not come to place myself above you. I wish to restore balance that was lost when I disappeared." She spoke from her heart, letting memories of her old life guide her. The Fae once stood as guardians to maintain the delicate harmony among all creatures, including mortals. What's happened here? This tension, these conflicts, arose because someone sought to fill the void left by the Fae monarchy with fear and division. I would undo that. Rayanne narrowed her eyes, as if searching for any hint of deceit. "Words are wind, Fae. Show me action. Earn our trust." Aurelia nodded. She promised the shapeshifters she would return with a plan to ensure their lands would be respected, dismantling the old prejudices that had isolated them. Rayanne said nothing more, but a flicker of cautious hope passed over her face. Before she turned away, Caspian squeezed Aurelia's shoulder in encouragement as they left, whispering, "This is how it begins, one step at a time." But not everyone wanted the old queen to return. As word of her reappearance spread, she became the target of strange attacks. Dark energies trailed her through alleyways. Shapeless illusions attempted to lure her into empty courtyards. And once, a pack of demon hounds cornered her near a canal. Though she remembered her magic, she found it sluggish to summon under duress. She managed to hold off the hounds, forging a barrier of shimmering vines. Caspian hurled spells that scattered them, but it was enough to prove that someone, perhaps the same person who orchestrated her downfall centuries ago, was still working in the shadows to see her undone. When Seraphine heard of the attempted ambush, she gathered the witches in a crumbling library hidden behind an abandoned church. Beneath vaulted ceilings thick with cobwebs, they consulted ancient tomes, searching for clues as to who might be orchestrating these assaults. One volume revealed references to a figure who had taken the title of regent in the absence of the Fae Queen, an exiled Fae named Malachi who once served as her counselor. He'd convinced other supernatural factions that the Queen had abandoned them. Slowly accumulating influence, He'd brokered fragile truces that served him more than anyone else. With rumors of the Queen's return, his new kingdom threatened to crumble. It stood to reason that he would do anything to ensure she never claimed her rightful throne. That revelation ushered in a new phase of Aurelia's mission, meeting with each faction's chief representatives and urging them to come together for a summit she would host. It was a high-stakes gamble. If no one attended, she would be exposed for easy attack. If they did show up and conflict erupted, blood would stain the city's streets. But they had little choice. As she stood atop the tall steps of an old municipal building, now disguised with wards, a wary conviction settled into her. This gathering would determine their shared future. On the appointed night, the ancient municipal building hummed with power. Its columns and steps were draped with illusions to deter curious humans, and only those invited knew how to breach the wards. Aurelia wore a dress that glistened like moonlit dew, a subtle tribute to her Fey heritage. At the stroke of midnight, the delegates arrived in small groups. Vittorio and 2 vampire elders glided up the steps, their gazes flicking warily at the werewolves led by Rayanne. Dozens of witches were already inside, setting protective wards around the main hall. In a corner, an impassive demon delegation lingered, their eyes shimmering red in the half-light. Tension simmered, but no one broke the fragile peace. Aurelia took her place at the center of the hall, where an ornate table circled by chairs waited. Stepping outward, she hesitated, then summoned just enough of her magic to cloak herself in a comforting aura of gentle light. "I thank you for coming," she began, her voice resonating in the hush. "You all know claims that I am the lost Fey Queen have circulated, and I stand before you tonight to affirm this truth. Yet the proof lies not only in my power, but also in what we do next. Let this summit be the first step toward restoring the trust we once shared." A murmur passed among them. Then a mocking clap echoed through the building, isolating into a single pair of footsteps. From the entryway emerged a tall, robed figure with dark hair and a sharply angled face. Malachi. The glow of the chandeliers caught the cunning gleam in his eyes. "How touching," he drawled. "The city's fractious supernatural factions all gathered under one roof. Though it's been centuries, my queen, I recognize you." He gave an exaggerated bow. "But how can we be sure we need you anymore? I've managed the city's affairs in your absence. We have an uneasy peace, yes, but it's still—" Rayanne bristled. "Hardly peace. We've lost children to vampire hunts. Witches have been persecuted, and the demons lurk, waiting to pounce. You keep us separate and distrustful so you can reign over scattered enclaves." Malachi's lips curled in a sneer. "Oh, but you come willingly to negotiations, don't you? One might argue that fear and tension keep the truly dangerous impulses in check." He locked his gaze on Aurelia. "And now you would stroll in, promising harmony and comfort for all. How naive. Have you forgotten we live in a world that would sooner imprison or destroy us if our secrets were truly unveiled?" Aurelia felt a surge of passion rise in her chest. "The old ways taught us that solidarity is our greatest defense. If I truly forgot, I remember now. I see the thirst for freedom and peace in every one of them. The treaties forged in the Fey realm made us stronger. The illusions you've spun might hold us in place for a time, but they breed despair and resentment." She turned, addressing the factions gathered around. "If we keep tearing at each other, we'll give the human world and any other threat the opportunity to eradicate us. United, we can defend ourselves. Divided, we are nothing but bickering clans." An undercurrent of agreement buzzed through the hall. Even Vittorio, aloof as ever, nodded slightly. Aurelia pressed on, summoning her Fey magic to paint illusions of what could be. A city, enhanced by hidden growth and light, where supernatural beings coexisted openly among themselves with a careful watch on mortal boundaries. In these illusions, The vampires and shapeshifters protected each other's territories. The witches guided spells of healing rather than curses. And the demons offered guardianship of threshold realms. The images flickered in the air, showing not a utopia, but a balanced mosaic of differences, stitched with mutual respect. Malachi hissed, flicking his fingers to conjure a wave of bitter cold aimed at Aurelia. The illusions cracked, and Aurelia staggered. A swirl of protective warding erupted from the witches on either side of her. Before the freeze could strike her fully, Caspian sent a bolt of light that shattered Malachi's. "Don't be a fool," the sorcerer warned. "This can't continue." In the hush that followed, a low growl rose from Rayenne's throat, echoed by the demons and the vampires. Had the witches not stabilized the wards, an all-out brawl might have erupted. Malachi stood in the middle, hands raised, calculating eyes shifting from side to side. He seemed ready to hurl another spell when Aurelia took a step forward, letting her fey aura blaze bright enough to cast shimmering designs on the floor. "I banish your illusions," she declared, remembering old words of fey sovereignty. She felt the ancient power pulse. "I command you to relinquish your hold on this city. Stand down, or face the collective wrath of everyone you have wronged." A hush fell. The swirling magic coalesced, and Malachi's posture slackened, acknowledging that it was no longer just Aurelia alone, but a gathering of factions fed up with manipulation. For a moment, he clenched his jaw, as though weighing his chances if he continued to resist. But he saw the lines drawn, witches, shapeshifters, vampires, and more, all aligning behind the queen who had returned. Without a word, he lowered his hands, lips curling into a grimace. He spun on his heel and strode out, letting the heavy doors slam behind him. The wards shimmered to let him pass, then sealed tight. Relief rippled through the hall. Aurelia felt a wave of exhaustion nearly buckle her knees, but she remained upright. The illusions she had conjured flickered back to life momentarily, a final reminder of what they could achieve. Rayenne exhaled in a long sigh, then turned to the vampires. "Well, if we're going to forge new treaties, we'll need a different approach than the old ones." Vittorio inclined his head. "Agreed. Let's put aside our feuds and work toward a real accord. If the Queen can mediate, perhaps we'll do better this time." The witches nodded, and even the demons muttered assent. With careful diplomacy and determined hearts, they gathered around the table to begin drafting a new pact. The hall buzzed with heated discussion, but it was the kind born from hope rather than fear. Each faction made its demands, conceded points, negotiated boundaries, and planned for mutual defense. Aurelia, though new to the city's intricacies, drew on her reinstated memories to shape a fair structure reminiscent of the old Fey monarchy's justice. They worked late into the night, culminating in an agreement that would call for a more transparent exchange of knowledge among factions, mutual respect of territories, and a united council to address external threats. Each representative signed the document, and Seraphine enchanted the parchment, stamping it with a sigil of living vines. The pact was sealed. A hush permeated the hall as everyone realized they had just taken the first step away from centuries of distrust. When dawn approached, the delegates dispersed, each returning to their enclaves to share the news. Outside, the city was beginning to stir to mortal life once more. Early joggers, street sweepers, blinking office towers. Aurelia stood on the steps of the old municipal building, the final stars of night dissolving into a new day. Caspian approached, his shoulders sagging with fatigue, yet he wore a hopeful smile. "That was quite a sight," he remarked softly. Aurelia nodded. "It will be a rocky path. Malachi won't vanish so easily, and not everyone will accept the new balance quickly. But the summit was a start." She gazed toward the horizon. "I must do more than forge treaties. I need to reclaim my rightful place. Not to rule over these beings, but to guide and protect them. My throne no longer resides in that distant Fey courtyard. It's here, in this city. The times have changed, yet the Queen's duty remains, Caspian offered a small bow. "We're with you. The witches, the shapeshifters, even the vampires. So many want to believe in a better future now." The first rays of sunlight struck Aurelia's face and she closed her eyes. She felt a resonance of the old realm flowing through her heart, binding her to this new domain. In some ways, she was starting anew, unsure of what trials lay ahead, yet she knew that for the first time in centuries, the Queen had returned. The path would be fraught with unrest, but with unity beginning to blossom among the supernatural factions, they might withstand whatever storms lurked on the horizon. And so she stood, quietly greeting the dawn, determined to be a beacon of hope in this vast, teeming metropolis. A Fey queen who had come home at last.